happening.
It's all happening. Bruce Horak, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us on the Nerds of Color today.
Hey,
How are you doing?
thanks for having me. Fantastic. Yeah, really good. It's a beautiful blue sky kind of day, and we're talking Trek. So
Yeah.
what could be
What
better?
really what's better than that? Like I loved your
Yeah.
role as Hemmer on Star Trek Strange New World so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I can just imagine just how gratifying an experience it was to be playing a blind role and you yourself being a blind actor. So can you tell our viewers what that was like for you?
It was yeah, it was extraordinary. It was something I never really dreamed of happening. Um Yeah, I it took me a really long time to accept my disability. I've been visually impaired or legally blind my whole life. I lost 91% or over 90% of my vision to
Hmm.
childhood cancer. So it's kind of been with me my whole life. But I spent a lot of energy and a lot of time trying to hide it and being really shy and nervous about talking about it and sort of I refuse to get a white cane, for instance, even though I've been a client of the Canadian National Institute for the Blind since I was, 18 months old or whatever. But yeah, really fought against it and all the stigma and the stereotypes around people with white canes and people who read Braille and guide dogs and all of that. I really I was very nervous and apprehensive to be labeled that way. Um, and then just kind of by fluke of accident, I got a white cane, and I was auditioning for a movie, and my agent said, "You got to look more blind." And I'm like, "Well, I'll get the white cane, and I'll see what this is about." But the people at the CNIB very wisely gave me my first white cane, but also said you have to have mobility training with it, learn to use the thing. And so, in learning to use the white cane, I very slowly but surely started to accept my disability and to really lean into it. And what has happened as a result of that, well, maybe coinciding with it, the cultural shifts or whatever, that shows can come looking for people who are disabled to play disabled roles and have some of that lived experience. And when Star Trek came knocking on the door and said they were looking for a blind actor to play a blind alien, it just, yeah, it was this kind of guiding light path that has led me to where I am today. And it's extraordinary. It's been amazing to witness the changes in the culture over my lifetime. More people are accepting of it, and I've been touring now a solo show where I paint a portrait of the whole audience and tell my story. And I'm getting more and more people coming up afterwards and saying, I'm visually impaired. I don't use a white cane, but I think maybe I'll give it a shot and I'll give it a try. And, it's not for everyone, but it has really changed my life. And I'm a big advocate for that. And, just for disability awareness in general, feeling confident and comfortable enough to talk about those subjects. Yeah.
That's so wonderful to hear. So I actually have kind of a two-part question here.
Okay.
First off, what is your own origin story with Star Trek? Like, did you get into it as a kid? And
Oh yeah.
also, how do you think that Star Trek as a franchise overall has handled disabled representation? And, obviously we have you as Hemmer and such, but yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I go way back with Star Trek. I was raised on it. Let's just say that it's pretty much a part of my DNA. My dad was a high school English teacher, and he took a year off his sabbatical, wrote a master's thesis on creating a sci-fi class for high school kids. So we were really my brothers and I we were raised on the stuff. And when Next Generation came out, we were all piled around the TV set to watch that. Watched all the movies in the theaters. I think we even went to the original, the motion picture in the theater. I was probably so young I slept through it. I've stayed awake through the motion picture, though. I'll say that. Anyway, that's that. I digress. I guess I have my bona fides as a Trekkie. Yeah, I just absolutely love it. And in terms of disability representation, well, I'll tell you the character of Geordie LaForge. Now, sure, LeVar Burton is fully cited, but that character's appearance in the franchise, um, yeah, it certainly triggered something in me. I mean, at that point, we were starting to see, uh, the the design of Star Trek, the original series, starting to come into play in our culture and this kind of cultural shift. And then seeing a technological visor that was going to allow this disabled character to, adapt and participate in the culture that's happening in that current time, not as the butt of a joke, but as an integral part of it. I was, wow, this is amazing. Like all this accessibility devices and the movement forward in integrating. I went to an integrated school, so all of my classmates were fully sighted, and there I was with my little telescope sitting at the back of the class to read the board, and I was getting typing lessons and learning computer literacy early on,
Hmm.
and that was allowing me to keep up with my peers and to participate, and there I was seeing the future of it. Here's someone in this really incredible position on a starship and being able to participate. And in the early days of the development of Next Generation, I mean, there was this whole sheet of here's ideas for disabled characters we could have. We could have an amputee who's able to attach a robotic arm and think of the amazing stuff that they could do in engineering. And what about someone in a chair or they sort of went through a whole list of things, and they were, landed on Geordie LaForge. It was really powerful, and to
Hmm.
watch what Geordie went through over the course of that, all the way up into the last season of Picard. It's extraordinary. Showing up on the set for my first day was I mean, I think I probably flew through the whole day, but I'll say this: the crew was so adaptive and receptive and caring, and I never for a moment felt like I was in any trouble. And also that they were anticipating my needs. Even
Hmm.
think, I'd never been to a set like this before, and been hustled back and forth from trailer to set and holding and cameras are shifting and cables are flying, and they were just so kind and caring. And I never felt like I had to work extra hard just to compete. I was
Hmm.
being met where I was at, and it's like, you can do the work now. You don't have to do all that extra stuff that, as someone who was coming to terms with my own disability, I felt like I had to do. I had to run twice as fast just to stay in the pack. That set was really quite extraordinary. Um, and that culture is changing now. I think
Yeah.
yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah, so do you think, on a broader note, that the entertainment industry is making substantive progress for disabled actors and creators, or does there remain still a large gap?
Gosh, I think progress is being made, um, and the gap is shrinking for sure. Um, I'm finding it to be a real motivating kick in the pants to kind of get off the sidelines and get in the game.
Hmm.
And when Ballinran Entertainment in Stratford approached me about doing a documentary
Hmm.
focusing on the latest project I'm working on, and they said, "Well, we want to put you in the director's helm for this."
Yeah.
As part of me is like, okay, well, you know what? You gotta put up or shut up. So away we go. And yeah, it feels like a huge leap, but you kind of surround yourself with the best, like any starship captain would. You just surround yourself with the best people possible, and
Hmm.
and you'll go further. Ooh,
Yeah.
Trek is everywhere, isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. It's
In all our
permeated
metaphors.
in all our metaphors. It's permeating the culture so much. By the way, I just want to mention
Mm.
a film that's coming out soon. I saw a screening for is Bring Her Back, and it stars a blind actress, Sora Wong, Australian Chinese actress, playing a blind role. So, highly
Oh.
recommend watching it if you can handle horror at all. It's a horror movie. I'll let you
Hmm.
know that.
I'll just
um,
turn the sound off.
yeah, there you go. On yeah, on the documentary itself, so what was the idea? How did this first come to you, or producers who brought this to you? And were there certain portraits you painted that inspired you for this specific project?
Well, after I got my white cane and started to really accept my disability, I started using it more and more in my own life. And a friend of
Hmm.
mine saw me on stage in a show and then saw me afterwards with the white cane. And there was this kind of disconnect. He's like, I've known you for years. What's going on? And I tried to explain to him how it is that I see. And at the time, I was messing around with some acrylic paint in the studio, and I thought, well, I'll paint your portrait, see if I can capture the way that I see you. So this was April 1st, 2011, April Fool's Day. And Brandon Harris and I sat in this musty old church basement, and I painted his portrait. And over the course of that couple of hours, this project kind of emerged. It took a while, but eventually I decided I was going to paint 1,000 portraits.
Wow.
And oh yeah, because well, side note, but it was because I misheard or misremembered the Malcolm Gladwell thing about if you want to master something, it's 10,000 hours of practice. I thought he said 1,000. Anyway, I set a goal. This was in
Mhm.
2011, and in the first year, I did 365 portraits, and I thought, great, I'm going to have this thing done. I've slowed down significantly since then, and I've just finished 754 portraits now. And
Congratulations.
thank you very much. It has, it started with friends and family and it's kind of expanded out and expanded out. And I dried up for a while because I don't know, I was living on an island or something. And then Star Trek landed and we all went into isolation and started meeting over Zoom. And I've been painting people from all over the world over Zoom and still meeting some folks, face to face, which is kind of my favorite way to do it. You take a little bit more time and I can actually work in acrylic and, you know, um, it's just a different experience. Most
Mhm.
recently, I sat with William Shatner in Los Angeles. I
Amazing.
reached out just kind of on a dare, basically. Someone said, make the bold choice. Who would you reach out to and who would you want to sit and do a portrait of? And I went, well, William Shatner. I've been to a couple of conventions and he's been at the conventions. And there was one moment where he was in the green room and I was walking by and my friend said, "Do you want to go and meet William Shatner?" And it's just like I would be too starstruck. There's no way I could talk to him. However, I got over that, reached out to him,
There you
sat
go.
down with Mr. Shatner for 45 minutes and had this incredible conversation. And he was asking about my story, and I was telling him about portrait painting and being visually impaired and inspiring people to use assistive devices, which he also uses.
Hmm.
And he just kind of, in that William Shatner way, commented like that would make a great documentary. And as
That's
luck would have
amazing.
it, a few weeks before, Ballin Rand Entertainment in Stratford reached out about doing a project of this. It seems like the perfect next step in the portrait painting. It started in a church basement, just kind of one on one. Eventually, I started recording them on my audio, and then it moved into conversations, photographs, and then online. And now it's like, well, let's see what the last. I think there's 250 portraits left to paint. Let's see what that looks like, and if we can actually capture the process and maybe spread some of the inspiration a little further afield. Yeah,
That's incredible, especially
thank you.
with William Shatner. It was all meant to be, really. Uh,
Oh, oh,
and
oh, and
oh
one
yeah,
other detail
go for
about
it.
that, because I'm
Yes,
I'm a
please.
big fan of Serendipity, love
Uh,
Serendipity. On the way to go up to his office, there's this huge billboard in LA, and it's William Shatner's face, and it was "Go boldly." And I think
oh
it was
my
advertising
God.
like an insurance company or something, but whatever. It was a sign from Shatner. So
That again, that's
synchronicity,
incredible.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But also something you mentioned, William Shatner, this famous actor, so beloved worldwide, using an assisted device. And the thing is, that gets me thinking, disability is the one identity everyone is going to have at one point in their life or another, like inevitably.
Yeah.
So what do you hope, like with your documentary, that audiences will understand more about disability, both your own and those of your subjects that you've painted?
This is a good question. There's a
Why,
there's
thank you.
a it's at the heart of the documentary for certain. Currently, these are my current thoughts today. It may change tomorrow.
Sure.
I was mulling this over, and the idea that okay, so again, I'm going to nerd out for a second, but I heard this great story about Roddenberry and Patrick Stewart at a convention, and someone asking, in the future, won't they have a cure for baldness? Why would we have a bald captain? And Roddenberry's response was, in the future, no one will care. And that kind of got me thinking about disability in the future and what we have to quote unquote cure for and
Hmm.
what is it about disability that we all can learn from. I have a very dear artist friend who said in the past it used to be thought that art was good for disability in the present, and hopefully in the future we see that disability is good for art. And
Mm,
that can
mhm.
apply to design. When you design for disability, we all benefit from that. And in the arts as well, I think the the quote unquote CRIP response to things.
Mhm.
Um, I still use that term tentatively, thanks to Tangled Art and Disability in Toronto, who are big advocates for cripping things. But the CRIP response to art is it pushes the boundaries forward, and it gets us thinking about things in new ways. Because I'm
Mhm.
someone with a visual disability, I seem to constantly muse and mull over the ideas of perception. How can I look at this from a new way? How can I
Right.
get you to see like I do? How can I see like you do? What do I'm constantly flipping around with that notion of perception and perspective, and that's my way, I hope, of cripping this documentary. Let's shake it on its head a little bit and look at things from a
Mhm.
different perspective, and hopefully highlighting other artists who have found their way to the creative act, which is to me is a bold act in a time where hoarding and destruction seem to be on the forefront of people's minds. Like, what about the creative act? What about
Yeah.
the altruistic act? What about the act of giving and putting things out better into the world? How can we stand behind that? And how can I, as an artist who sees through very limited tunnel vision, it's probably a great thing to be behind a camera, but as myself, as someone with such extreme tunnel vision, share that. Where can I shine my light to illuminate others?
I love how you just described it. And I think often the way we like the problematic ways in which society has marginalized disabled folks is by viewing disability as something quote unquote destructive when really you're showing how truly concert how creative it is. And I'm really
Hmm.
looking forward to watching that.
Thank you. Yeah, I really. Again, these are my thoughts for today. These are my current thoughts. It's all up for interpretation, but yeah, the process of getting the portraits to this point in the series,
Hmm.
um, like I myself as an artist have learned so much about myself by painting portraits of other people,
Hmm.
and yeah, it kind of is a long-term journey of self-discovery, I guess, as every creative life is. But in the sharing of that, hopefully, it inspires others to share of themselves in positive ways.
Yeah,
Those are my
absolutely.
thoughts. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, what are some can you tease any portraits that I mean, you already mentioned William Shatner, but are there any other portraits you're excited for audiences to see?
Well, I don't have anyone confirmed is the thing. So there's
Oh,
I've got
right,
a I've
right.
got a
Yeah,
list I've got journals going back to 2011 of the Dream Team. And we're really in the process right now of getting the thing off the ground, and once
totally. Yeah.
we have that, then sky's the limit. Yeah, I mean, gosh, who would have, no spoilers, no spoilers.
Yes, of course, of course. And people can support the project on Indiegogo, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Indiegogo, we've got until the middle of June. The campaign is running, and yeah, lots of perks. There's an opportunity to sit and have your portrait painted.
Yeah,
How about that?
yeah, it sounds like such an incredible project, and I wish you all the success. And
Thank you.
my last question for you, I always ask this with any actor who's been on Star Trek, any creative in Star Trek, what does Star Trek mean to you?
Mm, it's a hope in a future. That's what I keep coming back to when I watch Trek. Is that yeah, it provides a story for the future, one with obstacles and hurdles, but I think the way forward is one of bravery and peace. I hope. We certainly see elements of that,
Hmm.
and yeah, it does mean a lot to me, and just reflecting over the last couple of days about 60 years of this franchise, and what an
Hmm.
incredible legacy. It's given me that, I now know that Hemmer is he's part of the legacy. He's
Yeah.
he's there, and maybe there'll be a ship named after him. We don't know.
Absolutely.
A little plaque somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bruce Horak, thank you
Thank
so,
you.
so much for speaking with the Nerds of Color today.
My
And
pleasure.
yeah, congratulations on getting the project off the ground. I hope it's
Thank
super
you.
successful and
Thank
we
you.
can't wait to see it.
Right on. Live long and prosper.
Fanboys, professional artists, and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC in full color, you see.